Do you think you are good at what you do? If you work in sales, do you pride yourself on overcoming obstacles? Do you see yourself as an expert in finding and qualifying leads and then closing the big deal? Some people are good at sales, others are great at it. But the bottom line is most involved in sales have much in common, especially the leaders in sales when you analyze their roles and strategies. And that's what we're going to discuss in today's episode. And to do this, I welcome a regular guest, Dave Kahle. Dave, it's a pleasure to work with you again on a topic like this.
Always my pleasure, Jeff.
So let's get into it. What do you see with successful salespeople?
Well, I see that success in sales requires a certain set of behaviors that are pretty well documented. And in the blog post that we're talking about here, I reflect on a study that was done by the National Association of Sales Training Executives, which is a nonprofit group of guys like me. And they wanted to answer the question, do great salespeople, not good ones, great ones, do great salespeople have the same things in common? Do they, is there anything they have in common? And so what they did is they searched for a wide range of industries because they didn't want one industry, so big range of industries. And then within each of those, they identified the top 5%, which, by the way, is my definition of a great. It's to be a master, you're in the top 5%. So they went for the top 5%, and then they interviewed and surveyed them to see if they had anything in common. And guess what? They did. So great salespeople do the same things. Now, they weren't looking for personality, education, age, gender, nothing like that. Do they do the same things? Do the great salespeople do the same things? The answer is yes, of course they do. So they identified the five behavioral characteristics of the best salespeople, regardless of what they sell. Doesn't matter what they sell. These are the things great salespeople do. Would you like me to share them?
Go through the top five, list them for us, and I'll have some questions for you.
Okay, so number one issue is they see the situation from the customer's point of view. See the situation from the customer's point of view. Number two, surprising to a lot of people, they ask better questions. Number three, they listen more constructively. Number four, they are obsessed with time management. And number five, they do bigger deals.
Good list of five. So let's dig into each one a little bit.
Yeah,
Thinking about the strategies that top salespeople use to gain a deeper understanding of customer needs, how do they stand out?
yeah. What they do is, and I find this to be really encouraging for a lot of salespeople. What are the two fundamental communication skills that we as infants we first learn? We learn to listen and we learn to speak eventually, right? So, and we all know toddlers ask lots of questions. So here we have the basic fundamental communication skill that they excel at. So they ask, so how do they see the situation from the customer's point of view? Well, they ask better questions. They listen more constructively. They do what is a basic fundamental skill. They just take it to the highest level possible. And it's really encouraging because these are not, I mean, we're not born with it. These are things we can learn. So we can learn to ask better questions. We can learn to listen more constructively. So the characteristics of the best are within reach of every salesperson. If he or she chooses to, it's within reach to achieve that.
So that's important. Let's talk about these superstar salespeople that are in the 5%. And you said we could learn this questioning ability, the
Mm-hmm.
techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you start with that?
So, okay, I have a book, Question Your Way to Sales Success, one of my books, and we have lots of teaching materials on teaching what I call the art of asking great sales questions. So again, it's a skill that you can learn, and you start out by saying, let's focus on the customer and his situation, and let's allow the customer to tell us what he or she needs instead of us telling them. So it's a matter of creating questions that, and I mean, there's a whole variety of questions, but questions in a sequence that direct and lead the customer's thinking. And that's one of the greatest powers of a great question is this, and it sounds so fundamental, so basic, but it's incredibly profound. And that is this: when you ask a question, they think of the answer. So let that sink in a minute, because it's more profound than it sounds so simple. But what that says is the questioner is controlling the conversation. The questioner is controlling the thought process, influencing the thought process of the people being questioned. So it's an incredibly powerful tool.
I've often thought when I am being sold something that they ask questions, and then if instead of answering my question, they ask more questions, which gets me to thinking about it more. So,
Sure,
yeah.
sure, yeah, yeah,
Another one, Dave, is about listening. Now, as we're
yeah,
having conversations with people, salesperson, customer, client, of course, we're listening. I mean, unless we're talking, we're listening.
yeah.
But constructive listening is what we need to think about.
Yes,
What
yes,
does that mean
yes.
to you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a great question. Yeah, for example, my wife is a crisis counselor. She talks about empathetic listening, but the study did not say empathetic listening. The study said constructive listening. So what is that, and how is it different? Well, can you think of constructive construction building? So it's you're listening for things to build upon. That's what you're listening for. So you're listening. Clearly, you're listening for opportunities, you're listening for needs, you're listening for interests, you're listening for things to build upon. Build your next question or build your solution upon what the customer says, and that's what you're listening for. So again, that's a skill. That's a skill that can be learned. You can develop that. You can get better at it forever, you know.
You talked about in our when we first got talking here that top salespeople use their time
Yeah.
differently than your average salesperson.
Yeah.
Talk
Well,
about
so
that. What does that
yeah.
mean? Does that mean living by the calendar? Does that mean a to-do list, or what does that mean to you, Dave?
Well, I mean, it's bigger than that, Jeff. It's a huge body. I believe that time management is the single greatest challenge for salespeople today. The challenge to make every day as effective as you can, make every day, every hour. So it's been a big deal for me. I have again another book. Sorry about that, but 11 Secrets of Time Management for Salespeople, which has, if you don't mind me saying, has gone worldwide. It's available in 8 languages in 20 countries. Anyway, so I have a great deal of information and body of content around the issue of time management. I think it's the biggest challenge. Here's why. So a salesperson gets up in the morning, he's got two questions he has to answer. Where do I go? Who do I see? He has to answer those not one time. He has to answer them continuously throughout the course of the day. And so if he has the ability to answer those effectively, methodically, with a system, then he's going to be far more effective. Remember, the best salespeople are obsessed with time management. I mean, it said obsessed. They're obsessed. I mean, they're uh, really eager to make the best of their time. And so, we teach a system for how to make the best of your time, how to plan, how to use that time, how to say no. Like as a problem with salespeople is they're very reactive. Customer calls, drop everything, do what the customer wants. Well, okay, a little bit of that's okay, but man, if you can't be effective if you're going to be totally reactive. I mean, you've got to be, if you're going to be effective, you're going to use your time well. You can't let everybody else in the world tell you how to use it. So, I mean, there's a whole series of principles and practices and systems that come into time management. But it is, I believe, the single biggest challenge facing business-to-business salespeople today.
Yeah, I think I need to get a couple of your books. It seems like you've got it all covered that way. And I didn't know you spoke 8 languages.
Not me. The books do. The book's been translated.
Of course, and that's fantastic that you have that available to so many different language groups. Dave, let's talk about this one and then we'll close. When it comes to closing bigger deals,
Mm-hmm.
is that a mindset or a method that sets elite salespeople apart?
Yeah, it comes out of time management. Honestly, here's how it comes out of time management. Because the best salespeople don't waste their time on C accounts. The best salespeople aren't there. They're not taking little orders to make themselves feel good. They're not doing that. The best salespeople are very methodically identifying the highest potential accounts and very methodically, intentionally, and mindfully penetrating those accounts and very methodically getting to know those customers deeper and bringing proposals that are deeper and larger than, what's your price on this? I mean, that's so answering your question, what's your price on this is where the comfort zone for a lot of mediocre salespeople. But that's not where the best play at all. I mean, they don't do that. They again, they methodically identify the highest potential customers. They very methodically get to know them, make all relationships they need. They dig deeper by asking better questions, listening more constructively. They make bigger proposals and they do bigger deals. Interestingly enough, the top 5% generally account for 50% of the sales force's volume. So if you got 100 salespeople, the top 5% are going to do 50% of the volume, and the other 95 do the other 50%. They have a different mindset. They think differently, and they continually improve and continually think about, the most effective use of their time. So the whole thing about doing bigger deals is a function of that whole time management thing, making good decisions about where you choose to invest your sales time.
And taking a top client to a baseball game might not be a bad idea.
It's a good idea. That's a good idea. Have we ever talked about entertaining? I've got
Oh,
lots of
yes.
entertaining stories here. Okay.
We had a full episode on that. I know you do a lot of recordings, Dave, but we did talk about that one. And what a great idea to focus in on your top clients and
Exactly.
land them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for this. Any final words of advice for those watching, those salespeople who want to do better and they've watched so far? What else
Yeah.
can they do to make this happen for themselves?
Well, first of all, understand that they can always improve, and that the characteristics, the behaviors, see, those are behaviors. They're not personality characteristics. They're behaviors of the best salespeople. Everybody can learn to do those better. So everybody listening can sell better. You just have to choose to, and then have to choose to sell better, and then you have to put yourself in a place where you're continually learning. There are best practices for salespeople, just like there are for every other profession, and most salespeople have never been exposed to them. So I would say, decide you can improve, decide to, and then begin to very methodically expose yourself to the best practices of your profession and roll them into your routines one at a time. Eventually, you're going to be one of the best.